Hi, I'm Tim Clarke. I'm a director at Harrison Clarke Chartered Surveyors. In this video, we will be talking about what the purpose of an interim schedule of dilapidations is. The primary role of serving an interim schedule of dilapidations is to safeguard the value of a landlord's property by enforcing lease covenants during the lease term. Commonly, an interim schedule of dilapidations will be served by a solicitor as a repairs notice. In terms of timing, an interim schedule of dilapidations is normally suitable when there are 3 or more years left to run on a lease. After this time, a terminal schedule of dilapidations might be more suitable. Normally, we would expect an interim schedule of dilapidations to include a summary of applicable lease covenants and an itemised list of breaches of the lease. Breaches of the lease that can be included typically relate to those which, if not addressed, would lead to accelerated degradation of the building's fabric or services. This means we would normally expect an interim schedule to be focused on weatherproofing issues, any mechanical leaks or disrepair expected to cause leaks in the near future, or safety issues such as dangerous electrical installations. Examples of weatherproofing issues might be roofs which are at the end of their lives, excessively damaged brickwork pointing, or a tenant's failure to redecorate external timber and metalwork. An interim schedule of dilapidations might include suggestions on suitable remedial works, but these should be considered a guide for the tenant, as alternative methods of remedying breaches might be available. Importantly, in most interim schedules of dilapidations, financial damages are not suitable as a remedy and so would be inappropriate to include cost of works. Instead, a landlord would normally be seeking specific performance, that is, for the tenant to complete remedial works. If a tenant is seeking to assign their lease, this is often a good opportunity for landlords to take stock of the condition of their property, and some choose to issue an interim schedule of dilapidations. The primary reasons for this is that the outgoing tenant is likely to be motivated to cooperate with the landlord. Additionally, the quality of the incoming tenant isn't always fully understood by the landlord, so if the incoming tenant is a potentially weak covenant, the landlord can at least be sure that their building is being maintained to a minimal standard. In this scenario, a landlord might decide to make completion of the works either by the incoming or outgoing tenant a condition of the lease assignment. Sometimes, if a tenant wants to surrender their lease, we are asked to prepare an interim schedule of dilapidations. In reality, in this scenario, this is more like a terminal schedule, which is quite a different document. Technically, this is not a true interim schedule, but will sometimes be branded as one, and can be used as a negotiation tool for agreeing a surrender premium. The cost for a chartered building surveyor to prepare an interim schedule of dilapidations is dependent on a number of factors, including the size and type of the property, its overall condition, i.e. whether the whole property is in poor condition or the landlord is looking for a tenant to address a couple of key issues, whether drone photography is required, or the property's geographic location, for example. The typical cost is not dissimilar to that for a terminal schedule, as there is a little difference in schedule preparation, travel and inspection time. The majority of tenants will have a contractual obligation to reimburse the landlord for the cost of the preparation and service of a schedule of dilapidation. Typical next steps are for a solicitor to serve the interim schedule on the tenant as a repairs notice. After that, you might need some more of your surveyor's time to discuss or negotiate with the tenant to agree a package of suitable remedial works and to inspect works upon completion. Some leases allow the landlord to complete works themselves if a tenant has not addressed these within a particular time period, so landlords might have to incur the cost and associated risks of completing the work themselves before reclaiming the cost of doing so from a tenant. A lease clause allowing for this is known as a Jervis and Harris clause. You should discuss this possibility with your solicitor and surveyor. At Harrison Clarke, we have a team of specialist dilapidations surveyors who can help. They can be contacted on 02381 550051 and look forward to speaking with you soon. If you like this content, give us a thumbs up and subscribe.